All right, so I've got another story here for you guys, and it is the top 10 most haunted military bases. So I found an article. It was the top 10 most haunted military bases. The article is from Military Spouse. So I'm trying to wrap my mind around this. Like, you go to militaryspouse.com, you find this article, most haunted military bases, and then you go, we're not taking orders there, honey. We are not taking orders to that haunted base. So let's go ahead and throw 7 minutes on the clock, and let's look at the top most haunted military bases, top 10. So number 10, I guess, so maybe least haunted. West Point Military Academy, New York. So they're saying, with reports of ghostly cavalry still reporting for duty, the academy often pops up on the most haunted lists. I used to live right near West Point. I don't know any good ghost stories from West Point, but there's room 4714, where an opalescent figure is said to drift, and I don't know what that word means, in and out of stone walls, terrifying first-year plebes, so junior Army cadets, as they settle into their new sleeping quarters. And Sleepy Hollow is, the Ichabod Crane, the Headless Horseman, is nearby, only about 45 minutes away. So Ed and Lorraine Warren, the famed ghost hunters, who the movies Annabelle, The Conjuring, and Amityville Horror were based off of, lectured at the Academy in the 70s. And those are good. All Annabelle, The Conjuring, and Amityville Horror are great horror movies. And we're going to talk about the best military horror movies coming up. So stay tuned for that. And let me know what your favorite military horror movie is. And if you have any military haunted stories, let me know that too. Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, home of the military's most hardcore prison, federal prison. So, documented nearly 36 haunted houses, making Leavenworth one of the most haunted Army installation. The museum has dockets of stories captured throughout the base. So, they do the annual haunted Fort Leavenworth tours, and they sell out. I could see a prison being haunted, like a prison, an insane asylum, those types of places. They always seem to be haunted, don't they? Do you think that they're really haunted, or is that just kind of like a thing that people assume? And do you believe in ghosts? Like, I want to believe in ghosts, but I need to get haunted first. I can't just take people's word for it. Like, I've got friends who've told me that they've been haunted, and I'm like, come on, I want to get haunted. Haunt me. I'm putting it out there right now to the ghosts of the world. Haunt me. Haunt me. I want to be haunted. My wife would be pissed if she heard that. She doesn't want to be haunted. So the Francis E. Warren Air Force Base in Wyoming is old, having been in operations in 1867. Airmen have been stationed there, have reported otherworldly screams so terrifying that they've called base security forces to report it. The responders understand because in the security forces group building, units whimper and whine at the staircases. The canine units whimper and whine at the staircases. So they say dogs can see ghosts, I've heard. The building was once the base hospital, and its basement was the morgue. The base's haunted reputation routinely fills seats on the Cheyenne Visitors Haunted Halloween Trolley Tour. So on-base housing residents offer the following advice. Want to know if your house is really haunted? Wait for Halloween and see if the trolley tour passes by your driveway and pauses. So I guess that would be good if the ghost tour stops at your house and says, hey, that's where the ghosts are at, then you would know. But I think you'd have to be haunted to know. All right, next on the list, the 7th most haunted is Joint Base LewisMcCord, Washington, home of Green Berets are up there. So under the shadow of Mount Rainier, what used to be a mere uninhabited, rugged wilderness, Joint Base LewisMcCord has accumulated its share of the ephemeral. That's like haunted stuff, spiritual stuff, I think. The Red Shield Inn Fort Lewis Military Museum has been the hub of paranormal activity, with reports of hauntings dating back decades, including rumors of an exorcism to placate an actor's restless spirit who was murdered at the inn. So there may or may not have been an exorcism there. How are we doing on time? Halfway through. Barksdale Air Force Base, Louisiana. A state boasts tales of voodoo. Louisiana is all about the voodoo. So they have an entire creek crossing called the Green Light Bridge, where unexplained green lights hover around the small country bridge. Those who live near the area know the green means go, and if you ever see the lights, run. All right. Warner Robins Air Force Base, Georgia. The ghost stories swirling around throughout the misty Georgia landscape are many, as the 13th colony of the state certainly makes a good case for being the most haunted in the continental U.S. So outside of Mason, Georgia, it is one of the 13 most beautiful haunted destinations. And if you're merely want to meet a witch, just travel a few miles outside of base to Gravity Hill, where legend has it that locals were actually kind to the witch who lived there in 1800s and interred her body in a grave upon her death. And she continues to repay the kindness by helping cars over the ridge. Wow. Wright Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio. Dubbed the birthplace of aviation, Wright, maybe probably after the Wright brothers. Wright Patterson is one of the largest Air Force bases and also home to the U.S. Air Force Aviation Museum. It's Building 219 in particular with the paranormal activity. It was a morgue, so there's a trend here of places that were morgues getting haunted. Hauntings there are so well known that the base was featured on Sci-Fi Channel's Ghost Hunters. Have you guys ever watched Ghost Hunters? Is that real? Is that a scam? They recorded footsteps and incessant tapping. One of the ghost hunters asked the dark, empty air, "Give us 2 taps if you want us to leave," and 2 taps quickly sounded. He said he felt obligated to honor his word, and the team quickly left. And he heard a woman's laughter in the tapes. Oh, creepy. Wright Patterson. So Fort McNair, Washington, D.C. After Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in 1865, the arms of justice moved swiftly. After a 12-day manhunt, John Wilkes Booth was shot and killed by police, while his co-conspirators were quickly apprehended and imprisoned. They were given life sentences or hung. One of the guilty sentenced to die, Mary Surratt, the proprietress of the boarding house where Booth and his associates developed the assassination plot. She was found guilty and became the first woman executed by the U.S. federal government. The guilty watched from the jail as their own gallows were constructed in front of them. The Washington arsenal is now none other than Fort McNair. All right. So look out for the gallows. Joint Base Pearl Harbor. I could see why this would be haunted, maybe based off of the Pearl Harbor attacks. Even before enduring one of the most tragic military attacks on U.S. soil, the Hawaiian Islands teemed with stories of supernatural. Locals warned to look out for Pele, the goddess of fire, who has a proclivity for hitchhiking as the White Lady. Deities guarded the volcanoes, so it's just Hawaiian. It's Hawaiian folklore. A total of 2,400 Americans were killed in the attack on Pearl Harbor, the majority of the deaths occurring in Pearl Harbor. So many sunk and are still remain at the ocean floor. Yep, that's true. Numerous military members have reported eerie noises from the harbor, disembodied screams, and appliances that seem to have a mind of their own. Base housing is not known to have the greatest appliances anyway. Have also reported mumbling voices, footsteps, and laughter. Wow. Doors and cabinets that open and close on their own and flickering lights. Kadena Air Force Base, Okinawa, Japan. My mind is blown. That's where I am right now. I'm at Kadena Air Force Base right now. Am I haunted? Am I getting haunted? Hang on. Japan frequently tops the most haunted lists in horror film and literature. The notoriety is warranted. Tales of terror stretch back in Japanese literature to the Heian period. In a time so ancient that the stories were linked to scrolls known as the Gakiyoshi, or Scrolls of the Hungry Ghost. I have heard a lot of ghost stories from Okinawa. A lot of people think Okinawa is haunted. And there are specific Okinawa mediums, I think called Ozus, and they communicate with the dead. So Kadena Air Force Base and the surrounding military community have reported all manner of terrifying activity. Ghosts have approached one installation gate so many times that the activity has been captured in multiple videos. All right, we'll check this out later. Building 2283 on Kadena was once a tranquil single-family military base housing unit built next to a daycare center until an alleged family murder took place in a home. The USO used to hold ghost tours here until curtains parted by themselves and a landline phone, long disconnected, rang in the house in front of terrified tour groups. What is going on? Before the building was demolished in 2009, the next-door daycare teachers complained that their students kept throwing their toys over the fence. When questioned, the children replied, "The little kids on the other side asked us to." And the hair-raising terror continues. The Kadena Hospital Caves on a Banyan Tree Golf Course. The caves were once a former bomb shelter with 350 medical staff. 222 nursing students from Japanese military units were assigned in World War II. When U.S. forces came ashore, the caves were evacuated. Some evacuated by ingesting potassium cyanide pills. Others jumped to their death from nearby Maida Point. That's true. A lot of people committed suicide in Okinawa in World War II for fear of what would happen if they survived long enough to encounter the war. So to this day, off the cliffs of Cape Maida, scuba divers report seeing ghosts underwater. I've dove Cape Maida. I have not seen a ghost. It's worth knowing that in Japanese ghost folklore, water plays a critical role as a medium in which souls can travel to and from the world of the dead. Am I being haunted right now? Okay. Now I'm a little uneasy. I went over time and I'm totally freaked out because I'm being haunted by the ghosts of Kadena Air Force Base. Not cool, man.